somewhere.
So, of course, maternity leave is a must. But who's to say it shouldn't be the same for dads as it is for moms? Well, early this year, the Jamaica Civil Services Association sought the intervention of Mr. Prime Minister to help to fast-track the introduction of paternity leave in Jamaica. Paternity leave in Jamaica. Wow. Anyway, we're going to talk about it with the founder of the Caribbean Male Action Network, Dr. Peter Douglas Weller, and stay-at-home dad, Charles Hyatt Jr. Good morning to you both.
Morning, sirs.
Good morning,
for
folks.
being here.
Yes.
Well, we're talking during the break, and it sounded like a great thing, and then we started talking about all the things that could happen after the great thing, and we're like,
sounds so great
oh my
again.
gosh, should this really be a thing? Doc, let me start with you, because this actually does exist in countries like Sweden and Iceland and Norway, Finland, Hungary, where sometimes, for example, in Iceland, a full 9 months of post-childbirth leave is granted to both parents. You are saying this is a model that you think can work in Jamaica?
Well, let's look at what we're trying to achieve.
Okay.
We're trying to achieve the best interest of a child. We're trying to achieve sharing of the care between the parents. Therefore, it is a model that we should look at. Now, it exists in like 96 countries and in several states in the USA, and all of them vary in terms of how they operationalize it. So we would have to find our Jamaican, Caribbean way of doing it.
Within our cultural context.
Within our cultural context.
That means whether it would be doing it at the same time or the mother first.
How much time is given, first of all. The options of when you get to take the paternity leave, which could be at the same time as the mother, after the mother, later on down. I'm sure the dad we have here can talk about the different potential benefits. But the point is, if we're going to have a society in which we are sharing the care and building up the family, however the family is configured, then I think it is a good idea. But it has to be properly researched and operationalized, and there are a number of issues that it's going to raise.
Well, one I thought about is, there are a lot of men who are finding out now when you reach the embassy and you're filing for the child, that the child do not belong to you. Very different iterations of family and what in Jamaica we call jacket, for want of a better phrase. Kids who are passed off as belonging to a gentleman, but they're not really his. So all of those issues would have to be taken into ramification?
Well, I think all of those issues will be brought even more to the fore and force us to have to address them. In other words, you would not be able to have men claiming paternity leave for 5 different baby mothers
if you are not.
If they're not. And then, of course, they'd have to be able to show that they are the father. So it is going to bring up a lot of these issues that have been somewhat under the surface in terms of legislation. But I think it would be a move in the right direction. Every change comes at a cost with some benefits. We have to look at the costs as well.
Yeah, just before child, so are you suggesting, or you weren't suggesting, I'm asking, if someone had 5 different women have kids for them, they could get, and they could prove that, they could get paternity leave for the 5.
I think that is where the legislation will have to put a limit on how much leave a person could have.
It could be a full-time job. What do you do for a living? Well, I'm a paternity person.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, Charles, tell me about your is it your choice? Is it your stay-at-home dad?
Yes, it's a choice, and it was born in a fact that I wanted to be more involved with my children, my sons. I want to be in their lives intricately. So for me, paternity leave makes sense. Now,
how old are your sons? May I ask?
8 and 6.
Okay.
Right, so they're in prep school.
And you've been home with them since birth?
No, not since birth. For the last 2 years.
Yes, and you made that conscious decision.
Yes. I was actually working, and I resigned from work to stay home.
Why?
Because I wanted to be involved.
So your wife works also?
Yes, she works.
Okay.
She works.
Okay.
Yes.
That's an interesting dichotomy, especially in Jamaica. You would be the anomaly, no?
Apparently.
So when you said, you know what, I'm going to quit my job, I'm going home to save my babies, people must have been like, what?
Yeah. I mean, there's the question of, but the man of the house, we are do, earn a living. But I've realized since that staying at home is a lot of work.
So that's my next question, because people think it's such an easy thing to stay home and raise your child. It's harder for most than an actual job.
It is
because
very hard.
you're never off.
Right. The thing is that when a dad stays home, it's not just staying home and doing homework. It's all the work that dad had on the honeydew list, plus taking care of
honeydew.
you know,
What's the honeydew?
honeydew this, honeydew that, honeydew, you know. So
now you're
I'm the gardener.
You're honey now.
Yeah, yes.
Honeydew and honey dad. Yeah.
So I'm the gardener. I'm the helper. I'm everything in the house.
Yeah.
You know.
So like you want to change your mind now?
No, it's not. I don't want to change my mind. It is hard work. But you see, the fact that when the kids come home, they say, "Daddy," or when I go to the school, they run to me and things like that, and the teachers know me by name, and I know about their schoolwork, and I'm seeing their progress, and I can, you know when to tap them up every now and then to say, "Hey, guys," you know, it's a blessing. It really is a blessing.
So no regrets.
No, not at all.
Recommendations, actually,
Absolutely.
probably.
And you're going to stick with it?
Yeah. I'm going to stick for it as long as I can.
Yeah.
And call it a
How
day.
long do you think that's important? I mean, formative years, yes, but how long do you think that would be a reality for you? Maybe another 5 years, probably?
No. I don't think it's going to be that long.
Not into people.
I think because I have an 8 and a 6-year-old, 5 years they'll be teenagers, or at least one will be a teenager. So I don't think 5 years, maybe another year, maybe less. I don't know. It depends on the calling, because I got into it based on a calling, right?
Oh,
so
explain.
divine calling, where I was explaining to Neville another time that I had a straight conversation with God, and I said, "Do I resign to do this, or do I continue doing what I'm doing?" And he said, "Well, until you do what I tell you to do, you're going to be in problems."
And you heard that clearly.
Clearly. And then I went and told my wife, Judith, and she said, "Wait, hold on.
Said, God, listen, that was not God.
Let's pray about it, you know?"
Yeah.
And she prayed, we prayed, and she heard the same thing.
Wow.
And within a few days, I handed in my resignation.
Yeah.
What's the toughest thing for you as a stay-at-home dad? The toughest thing?
Scheduling. Because everything has to be done. And whereas
Everything.
everything as in all the housework, all the yard work, all the fixer-up, everything has to be
cook?
done. No, I don't cook. I do breakfast, so I make mean porridge, right? But everything has to be done before they get home, because once they get home, it's focusing on work.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. So you agree with this?
It's about choice, you know. This
Is there
whole
an
thing is about choice.
You said we had to look at our own culture, but
Yeah.
is there an ideal way to do this, you think?
The ideal way is one in which the parents are collaborating and coordinating what they're doing for the child.
Yeah.
However, that means, you know, if you financially can afford for one to stay home, two to stay home, two to go to work, who is doing homework with the kids, who is fixing breakfast, who is calling the teacher. It's about parenting and sharing the care. There are lots of international programs that promote sharing the care, and your life is an example of one way of sharing the care.
I love that.
What's Caribbean Male Action Network?
Caribbean Male Action Network is a network that was started to pull together organizations working with men, looking at men's issues, to try to find best practices, to advocate, etc. But all within the issue of equality, of choice, of making sure that men and women have equal rights and equalities. And sometimes men get left to the side because our issues are seen as secondary. So we try to do a lot of advocacy. You had the British Council on before talking about work with youth. We try to ensure that these initiatives are scaled up. So it's not just happening in one community and nobody knows about it elsewhere in the Caribbean. So we're looking for best practices and facilitation. It's a network, so
you
it's
want to
about
learn from
networking.
each other and institute. So
We can
there's
talk about it another
supposed
time.
to be results of a survey. Is it today that's going to be reviewed on paternity, done by the ministry?
I am told that there was a study being done. I'm not
Okay.
sure about when the results are going
All
to
right.
be sent out.
I think they're doing it in celebration of International
Men's Day.
which is today.
see you.
So
Good to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank you,
inviting me.
Of the
Charles.
Caribbean Male Action Network, Dr. Peter Douglas Weller and stay-at-home dad Charles Hyatt Jr.